Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bwacast. Today we're going to be talking about the new Spider-Man Homecoming film and just giving our thoughts on it. I'm Lax, and as you have just heard, today I have company in the form of Hugo.
Sup?
And we're going to again go through our usual format in that it's going to be a spoiler-free section and then we're going to go deep dive into the spoilers.
Swan dive into the best time of your life.
So Hugo, your overall impression of the film?
I enjoyed it, that's for sure. It didn't really have that a big impact, so I guess in that sense, it is a lighthearted film, and I think it's fine. It executes it quite well, because at any given point, you don't ever feel, man, this is really dragging behind, where the hell is this going? Or even like, I'm just bored. Because quite honestly, there are quite a few sections in this movie, which without some Easter eggs or some little bits to look at, it would have been quite boring. So all in all, I think it's a lighthearted film, not very serious, easy to watch, easy to turn your head off, and well executed.
I agree. This film was very, very well executed. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to have any replay value. Going back and watching it, I think you're all of a sudden going to see all the flaws because even now being how long ago did we see it? 6 hours ago, really?
Yeah, pretty much. There's no lasting impact.
It's not just that, but the more I think of it, the more I go, wait a minute, right?
Plot hole.
Plot hole. This wasn't very good. That wasn't very good. This is very generic. And I think that's the biggest issue of the movie is that it's great in the moment. So it has a lot of these good misdirections. Like you were talking about, there's lots of cameos. There's like little skits in the background, like lots of subtle references.
Yeah, Easter eggs.
Yeah, just a ton of them that make it very, very entertaining. But the actual premise of the movie, the actual plot of the movie is very
weak.
Yeah, it's bland and it's been done to death, really. It's nothing you haven't seen. But let's start with the really good things. And I thought the best part of this movie has to be the tone, just the overall tone and the kind of jokey nature to it.
Yeah. We've watched Deadpool before, and we have a second Deadpool coming, but it's not to that degree of humor and serious. It's like Deadpool's in a category of its own, but it like polarized enough to us to have a sense of humor in these movies again.
Yeah.
And so this does a good job of bringing it back to the mainstream, yet still having this lighthearted humor, yet not breaking the fourth wall and, having death and gore.
I think the perfect word to describe this movie is endearing, right? And that's encapsulated really by Tom Holland, who plays Peter Parker. He really just makes this film, because let's be honest, I don't know about you, but I didn't think anyone in this film besides him was particularly good. On top of that, the plot wasn't very good. It really just came down to scene by scene and how he delivered it, and the fact that he was able to err on the side of kind of this bumbling fool whilst not actually making the viewer scream at the screen in frustration, right?
He danced on that fine line of like, he's making mistakes, he's screwing up, yet he's still being conscious of his decisions, criticizing himself so that the audience doesn't have to do it for him. And, really digging, like, why the hell is he being a dumbass? Instead, he's realizing his mistakes. Even though whether or not he actually chooses to act on them, ultimately, is another question. But yes, endearing, frustrating, I think he definitely feels on the endearing side.
Yeah. How did you feel about the, smaller scale of this movie? Because I really enjoyed the fact that it was a much tighter story, not dealing with, like, an end of the world or something threatening the entire city sort of scenario, just this one small criminal group and really just dealing with the high school life. I thought that really helped give the movie focus, because it's often hard when superhero movies, they'll have this like love interest that's meant to be, or romance arc that's meant to be grounded, and then the person just steps outside and starts like smashing T-Rexes and stuff like that. Whereas this one, it was a lot. Everything was a lot more muted, which I think helped it. Kind of like Logan, right?
It felt a lot more grounded in reality. So I know we've had Avenger films, and this is, I guess, pseudo Avenger film because it's still got Iron Man. It's in that universe. Yeah. But with those films, they deal with apocalyptic level disasters, and everything's a calamity. Everyone's on super stress, high stress levels, high pressure. The world's gonna end, and this is still in that universe. And we find it, we get this different perspective about it. We get it from that ordinary level. So yeah, it's a breath of fresh air. It's something nice to watch.
Yeah, 100%. I think this film is really divided into two portions, which is the superhero part and the high school part. And then eventually at the end, we won't spoil it, but you can probably guess what happens, right? They all collide, the worlds collide, and et cetera, et cetera. But I always found that the high school part was much more enjoyable than the superhero part, really, because I don't know if anyone's ever seen the trailers for this. If anyone has ever seen a trailer for Spider-Man Homecoming, Homecoming, you know the plot for the superhero portion,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like it's already been written. In fact, it's shown most of the major action sequences as well.
Mm-hmm.
So when you see the boat getting ripped apart, you're like, oh, well, yeah, I saw that in the trailer.
Yeah.
So it almost felt like you had read the Spark Notes for a book you were meant to do, like a book assignment.
Yeah.
And then you're actually reading the book, but you already know all the events that are meant to happen when it comes to the superhero part.
Mm.
But with the high school one, again, it's quite cliche, and this might sound weird, but it really just comes down to Tom Holland as an actor and the way he portrays Peter Parker.
Mm.
That sets it apart.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And we'll go into more detail on like the high school and the superhero plotline in the spoiler section. But one last thing I wanted to touch on was the supporting characters and maybe the villain.
Mm-hmm.
So the supporting characters in general were quite poor and boring. And
aside from the cameos, but they're more, humorous because they are a cameo.
But the characters that stick around, I thought were quite boring. And we can talk about that more in the spoiler section, but I don't feel there's much to say about that. I don't really think there's anyone that's going to be like, wow, those side characters are so interesting. But my biggest issue was the villain. And the villain kind of had so many plot holes within his motives, his arc. Just the entire time I was like, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. And I was just rattling it off in a movie that was pretty well contained when you're talking about plot holes. It didn't have too many, but the villain's, motives and what he does and why he does it just don't add up. They don't add up at all. And that, I think, was the biggest problem. And he was incredibly bland and generic. So what are you thinking?
Well, I can't get the fact off that he looks like a testicle on my head. He's so wrinkled. Yeah. Like every part of his face is wrinkled. And then what makes him more humorous is that his lips, both lips are wrinkled.
Yeah.
So whenever he makes that O shape with his mouth, it looks like an arsehole. It looks like an arsehole. Aside from the fact that he looks like a testicle, I didn't find him. Yeah, well, I mean, as you said, and as I've thought, the motive isn't strong, and it's always confused or it's unexplained, or like we have a situation where they're a salvage crew. Oh wait, we should.
Yeah, we'll talk about this in the spoiler section.
But it makes no sense for them to have the technology in the first place. That's basically it.
Yeah. I know I just said we'll touch on these last things, but very quickly, the action sequences I thought were quite good. And, this is an important thing, and it might sound weird, but they actually made sense.
There's that sense of continuity, and it's got coherency because of that. I can
follow what's happening, right?
Yeah.
Like, he went from here to here to here to here, whereas, particularly, I don't know if anyone's seen Age of Ultron, and it's just jump cutting to, 50 different combat scenarios. I'm just like, all right, whatever. I'll just trust flashy particles, whatever. Whereas this time, it felt pretty good. And finally, the verdict. I'd say this movie is worth watching in cinema. I actually think it would be worse to watch it on your couch. I think it benefits from the cinema experience.
Why is that?
Because
at what points in the movie do you think it was...
No, but it's the whole thing, right? Like, you start thinking about this movie, the more and more it falls apart. Because, again, we'll mention... We'll talk about this in, the spoiler section, where it has all these, cameos, these little Easter eggs that, direct you away from the fact that you're watching something very mediocre in terms of plotline, story, characters, and everything else. As such, the movie experience as well contributes to that.
Yep. It's that when you're in the movie, you've dedicated the next 2.5 hours to watch this film. You can't go... I mean, if you need to go to the toilet, that's different, but you cannot take a break. Whereas when you're on your couch, you can definitely just go off the couch, grab something to eat, come back. And these little breaks really add to the fact that it breaks that continuity, which is a strong point of this film.
Yeah, so I'd say I'd recommend it watching it in cinema. Probably, I don't know, borrow it or rent it if you're gonna watch it at home. Because I don't think it's worth buying due to the fact that the more you watch it, the more holes you see in it, and the worse and worse the movie becomes. Really. It goes from being a really good film, I finished watching the film like, wow, this is like an 8.5, a 9, and then 2 hours later I'm like, well, it's an 8, and now I'm like, well, it's probably a 7. and then further along I'm going to keep downgrading it
down to a 5.
Yeah, probably, but it's definitely worth watching in cinema. Good one for kids as well, I'd say, and quite funny.
I think it fits all ages.
Yeah, a really good one. Now let's head into the spoiler section. So if you haven't seen the film, or you just don't care about spoilers, then join us. Actually, if you have seen the film, join us. And if you don't care about spoilers as well, then join us. Now, we mentioned the villain in just previously, so we'll lead on straight onto him. Now, the main villain is Vulture, and it's really his little group, criminal organization.
I mean, initially starting it as a salvage crew.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about now, specific scenes and what was wrong with it and what we didn't think added up. So did you want to start, Hugo? with
So
the
I think we should start with the intro,
Mhm.
which is when the damage control legal unit comes in and they take over the salvaging operation,
Yeah.
which he was in charge of. There's no explanation for why there are salvaging crews and why he even has a crew,
Yeah.
or why he did it and all that stuff.
Mm.
But pretty much, that whole salvaging operations gets taken away by the damage control unit, and suddenly he's got a grudge against Tony Stark / the Avengers.
Right.
And aside from that grudge, his motive is, I got to do it for my family.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue, right? The motive. He talks about caring for his family, or
Yeah.
providing for his family, or protecting his family, but
he jumps straight to the option of, hey, I gotta do some illegal things to support my family.
Yeah, it's not just that. It's not just that he's doing something illegal. It's like, oh, I'm doing something illegal, and it's creating weapons to be used, right?
Yeah.
Like, this is the biggest thing, that he keeps talking about protecting his family, but he's creating these super powerful alien weapons and releasing it into the community that his family lives in, so that they can be terrorized. And it's like, and he sits there talking about family. Another thing I thought, just talking about the intro, I thought the intro was pretty poor. Not just from how abrupt it was and how it just jumped, but how it didn't really set the tone for the movie. You know what I mean? Like, the intro was not representative, really, of what the rest of the movie was going to be.
It wasn't an actual introduction. It just felt like to me, it felt like a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
It felt like a teaser to what is going to be inside the film, and that's it.
Yeah.
It's not what the film's going to be about.
But and when we talk about the intro, we're talking about the moment before the Marvel logo and before you meet Peter Parker, where it's just about Vulture and his crew. But yeah, another problem I had was with Vulture and his crew. Like, they're just a salvage team. How can they reverse engineer alien tech to work as weapons, right? Like, these guys must be geniuses to do this. Instead, what are they doing? Just picking up scrap. Like, that's what their jobs are. So, that also didn't make any sense, unless it's like a Goodwill Hunting scenario where the tech guy was like in the middle of nowhere. But sorry.
That 8 years later also has me at like,
yeah,
because
because
8 years later they're still not tracked by the FBI, they're still not tracked by the Avengers, and it's only due to Spider-Man fucking up and alerting them that they do end up getting tracked. And the black guy makes the right decision of, hey, we're out of our league.
Yeah.
Let's go. Like, we've got our money. Let's destroy this operation and leave. But the dude's like, for my family, I gotta make some more money and steal from the Avengers.
Right. I mean, because it doesn't make any sense. They state in the film that they're the only people doing this, like, reverse engineering of alien tech, right?
Yep.
So if they're the only group reverse engineering alien tech into weaponry, they would be in very high demand.
Yep.
And they've been doing it for 8 years, so they should have a shit ton of money, as evident by the fact that guy has a pretty awesome house.
Yeah.
Right? And then, they've been doing it for 8 years, so he should have money in the bank, and they've got, like, a whole operation going about. Then there's also to the fact that, the Department of Damage Control and anyone from the Avengers hasn't noticed that all this alien material has been going missing from their shipments.
Yeah.
Like, ever, not once, for 8 years. And,
and he's only selling to these low-level thugs.
Right, he's only selling to low-level criminals. Surely there'd be other people who would, like, even you can sell to
terrorist organizations.
Corrupt governments, like all these other military services that would surely want this material, but they're selling it to, like, guys that are trying to hold up jewelry stores or something like that.
Even Donald Glover was like, hey, I'm just,
I'm trying to, like, stand someone up.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, blow them to smithereens.
Yeah, so it's just, I don't know. Logically, this is where the film just goes to shit. Like, none of it really makes any sense. And as soon as you start doing that, because I feel like your enjoyment of the movie hinges on how deep you look into it when you're watching it, right? So if things are just passable, and then you can kind of gloss over them, right? Like how Spider-Man has like 50 different types of webs.
500.
500 or something.
A couple hundred, man.
Right, like that was a bit weird, but that's gloss over because it's Stark tech, right?
Yeah.
It's just super advanced. But when you start having blatant plot holes, then all it does is it alerts the viewer's mind to start thinking, like, hey, that doesn't make sense. And then as soon as you start looking at that, then other things unravel, right? Like, why didn't Tony Stark tell Spider-Man that, hey, I alerted the FBI?
Oh, yeah. God.
Right? Like, things like that. It's a snowball effect. So it's a really detrimental fact that they have a villain who has just a bajillion plot holes in his story arc. really brings it down. But let's move on. We talked about the villains, and we'll go on to Peter Parker himself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we said he was incredibly endearing. Tom Holland was fantastic as him, as Peter Parker. He did really well, straddled the line between being frustrating and being endearing. But the biggest problem is, and we also touched on this with the Wonder Woman review, is that he doesn't actually grow up. This is a coming-of-age story, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't mature. And the only indication that we get told that he's matured is the end scene where he's given the choice of joining the Avengers. But instead, he reflects on himself and decides, hey, I'm going to stay as a local neighborhood hero. Because I think that's the right choice for me right now as a high school student. So I can not be a high school dropout, and balance my high school life with being a superhero. So aside from that, which even then, it's not to do with everything else in the movie, his character, essentially, which is what we have a problem with.
Yeah.
It's that he keeps on making decisions, like headstrong decisions.
Yeah.
Does not think about them. And for someone who created the first suit, being a genius and being the top academic at school, you would think maybe he would think smart first.
Yeah.
So there's the problem. He doesn't think about his actions, and even though he does criticize himself and realizes, hey, I'm doing things that are wrong, he doesn't change anything.
Right. The way he solves the problems at the end of the movie is still by being headstrong and still rushing into things. Now, that one was a bit more justified because he was kicked out and didn't have anyone to contact. But the point is there's not a moment besides that final end sequence where he refuses to become an Avenger, where it's like, I now have to approach a situation differently. Right?
All we get is that Simba scene when he's trapped under the rubble. He's looking at his reflection.
Right. Yeah, the awakening of his powers, right? The moment where he realizes that it's not the suit that's amazing, but him. And he sits there and goes, it's so bad. It's literally a moment ripped out of The Lion King, right? Where Mufasa's talking to Simba. It even has this moment where he's staring down, sees his reflection.
Into a puddle.
and then Robert Downey Jr.'s voice comes in.
Yeah.
I almost burst out laughing. It was so absurd. And then he just starts screaming like, I am Spider-Man or something like that, and then lifts the rubble up.
But even that doesn't add anything to his character. He still decides, hey, I'm just gonna chase after him. And we'll see what goes from there.
What I would have liked to have seen really from the movie was, to show his growth of character when he had to have that talk with Vulture, as his date's dad.
Yeah. He just froze up.
Yeah, he just froze up, right? I would have liked to have seen him actually, maybe interrogate him, try and or at least stand up to him.
I was thinking, hey, the scene with Donald Glover where he's trying to interrogate him, and then he's like, you should, practice it.
Yeah, you gotta get better.
You gotta get better at this. I was thinking, you would think maybe from that point onward he would have done something about that, or taken notice.
Yeah.
Aside, instead he decides to stare at him. He's giving him cues, basically confirming what his daughter Liz says.
Yeah.
He doesn't respond, and when he does respond, he's very nervous and fidgety and kind of oh my god, I'm going to be exposed, or oh my god, that's Vulture. Making it obvious for him.
Right, and it's Vulture without his Vulture suit.
Yeah.
Right, so he can't actually do anything to him. It was just weird because you thought maybe for a coming of age story, but he never actually comes of age in terms of how he acts. Anything else you want to add before we quickly scroll through the rest, the other couple of side characters that are of note?
Can't think of anything else about this character other than what I've said.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Ned, who is the fat, chubby sidekick.
I think something about casting nowadays is that it's got to have ethnicity. You have I feel like it's just about political correctness at this point, where they have to, you got to have someone black, someone Hispanic, someone Asian, at least at some point in the film to show, hey, we're global.
That's 100% true. But I mean, it makes sense because if you're releasing this around the world, people naturally identify with people they look like.
Yeah.
So it just kind of has to happen. But anyway, Ned started off as endearing, but he got really annoying really quickly.
I think they lost an opportunity with Ned.
Yeah.
Because he could have been Peter Parker's confident, hey, I know your secret. I want to keep it to the end. I want to be your supporter. I will be that guy in the chair. Instead, he decides, hey, how can we get popular now that I know you? How can I use your popularity as Spider-Man to make myself popular as well?
Right. Yeah. He's very short-sighted and has a low bar for what his goals are.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem I had was he was basically like a fanboy to his own friend.
Yeah.
Right. And that was kind of a problem because you can have a fanboy character for portions and it won't be annoying, but you need to really have him in short doses. However, he was just going on
the entire
film, really until that end moment where he was that guy in the chair. And overall, it could have been much better.
You know, I just remembered plot hole, massive plot hole.
Yeah.
They took that alien tech into their own science lab, or was it Des Tech lab?
Yeah.
How the hell did no one notice?
I don't know. Well, it showed that teacher didn't give a shit or something.
I know, but what about all the other kids?
You know what was so funny? They were smashing it with a hammer.
Yeah.
and it turned out that stuff was a bomb.
Oh, wait. But the explanation for that was that it was
radiation.
Yeah, radiation.
But that would have been what about their cell phones or going through something? Anyway, it doesn't matter. That one, I think, that type of plot hole is a bit more forgivable.
What? Having them smash some shit in the Des Tech lab?
Well, if you just go to the corner of the room.
They weren't even in the corner of a room. It was somewhat sent. I don't know. When you pointed it out to me, I was like, oh my god, this is fucking dumb.
Yeah, no, it did stand out to me, but I don't know. I felt like I could forgive that one, really.
We'll go back to Ned.
Well, realistically, because that scene could have been done just as easily with those two alone.
Yeah, all right.
Right? Just sitting in the corner of the school with a stick going, just trying to smash it like cavemen.
Yeah.
But we'll head on to Liz now, who was the love interest. Now, Liz was boring as hell. She's generic hot chick in a film. And
for someone that was the captain of the academic decathlon team, someone who's supposed to be smart, basically.
Yeah.
She couldn't fit the pieces together that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. When her dad, who after a 2-minute conversation was like,
"It's Spider-Man."
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. No, that was surprising because I expected her to figure it out and to them have a touching moment.
Yeah.
But she just didn't, and she's off to Oregon clearly. So there goes that one. But I feel like there's a problem with... They should make her more capable. Or if they're having a love interest in the future for the next Spider-Man, make them less stupid and make them actually an asset to him. Or,
almost like a sidekick.
Yeah, to an extent, really.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It was very generic. You won't really feel much for it. They had a few awkward flirting love sequences.
But that's more...
That is meant to represent teenage flirting. But apart from that, nothing much to say. So I want to go on to the major...
Do you want to talk about the age?
Oh, yeah. The age was bizarre. So I don't know about you, but I assumed he was 16, 17.
Yeah, same as me. I thought it was 16, 17. Up until the point when Tony Stark said, hey, you're only 14. And he said, no, 15.
Yeah, that was strange. I don't know. I suppose there's nothing wrong with it being 15, but it
still feels too young.
To be a superhero. Or to be getting the shit kicked out of him.
It's just it just feels like an awkward age to put him at. And the fact that they also made his love interest a senior.
Yeah, she would be 18 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite a bit. Isn't that technically pedophilia in Australia?
No, isn't it just consent?
Because I swear it was isn't it within 2 years? If you're under 16 or something?
Really?
Yeah.
I know 2 couples who are 3 years apart and they were together since year 7 as well. Oh my god.
I don't know. I don't want to Google that answer. I don't want that on my search history.
Alright.
But I thought I heard that was the one. Anyway. Moving on. Let's shuffle this conversation.
As you can tell, we don't really care about this character too much. Kind of just glazed over because she is quite irrelevant. She doesn't add anything to the story in particular that I remember.
Yeah. No, she could have been just cut out of the story, really. The only conflict that happens with her is when, her father is the guy that is selling all the weapons.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Who's Vulture. Yeah. So he has this kind of conflict of he likes her, but he's going to have to send her dad to prison and lock him up. But really, the dad is such an asshole. He's so cartoonishly evil that you're just dude, what the fuck? You just got to do it.
It also didn't help that Peter Parker kept on just neglecting her. Just leaving her at every moment he could. Just being hey, I want to take you to Homecoming. Oh my god, took you to Homecoming. I'm going to leave you. It's sorry, I got to go. I'm going to do my thing.
He could have stayed for 5 minutes, maybe.
Yeah, I know. He did nothing. Nothing developed.
Yeah.
That was it.
Anyway. Moving on, I want to talk about the main two parts of this film, or two aspects of this film, which we mentioned in the spoiler-free discussion, which is the high school versus the superhero. And really, we already touched on how the superhero one is very generic, a couple of action sequences that were well constructed, but a plot that's very cliche, right?
Yeah.
So this is a superhero coming of age story. Peter Parker, he's trying to do the right thing. He does something wrong, faces some consequences, and then at the end does the right thing, triumph, but then declines going to the Avengers. But what I reckon made the high school one, because the high school one's very
realistic, I think.
Realistic.
They put in a lot of effort to make it, to ground it all. You had those little tidbits like the news team. Like, even though you can't even count them as side characters, I don't think you can.
No, they had really good world building.
Yes.
In the high school section.
Because you have little characters who you remember just a little bit about, but it's enough to build the whole world, like the gay person, the girl who just shut down the other guy, the other newscaster. You have all these little characters.
But also, what it does is it shows a world that like what society is like for people that exist within the Avengers universe.
Yeah.
Rather than just telling the story of the Avengers.
Yeah.
So you have Captain America doing like the gym teacher, helping with the gym teacher, pointing to the wrong side. You got him doing the detention stuff. You've got obviously that like news crew, as well as like the playground discussion, right? Is not about normal stuff, but it's about superheroes as well.
Yeah.
So it gives a real grounding that really nothing else in that Marvel MCU has done as to what the world is like for the average, in this case, high schooler. So I thought that was really fascinating because you'd see all these little tidbits that flesh out something that you've never seen before in a Marvel film. So it just made you really want to pay attention, right?
Yeah, because you were interested. You wanted to know what it is like to be an ordinary person in this extraordinary universe.
100%. Also, what helped was the comedy.
Yeah, the comedy was fun.
There really wasn't a single scene that didn't have at least an amusing moment. Yeah. And a lot of them had a few chuckle moments. Yeah. It's very rare, I'll be honest. Even in comedy films, I don't chuckle or even like laugh out loud or make any form of things other than maybe, that brief where your air comes out of your nose. Like, that's probably as good as I get. But in this one, I actually made some noise for a couple of moments, which is surprising. And again, it had to do a lot with Tom Holland's character and really
his interactions with other people. I loved the interaction he had with the cameo with Donald. It's so funny. It's like,
you're not very good at it.
It's like, I was dissolving 2 hours, like, but my ice cream.
But I got ice cream in there, man. Yeah, no, a lot of great stuff. I thought, particularly the opening sequences where it's him just like helping out people, get across the street, get like cats down from trees, a bike thief, but then he can't find the person with the bike, so he's just like writes a note and says, "Please don't steal his bike," and leaves it there.
It kind of reminds me of the old Spider-Man films.
Really?
Because it is still local superhero. I don't know if
because I feel like even you look at, I don't really remember Amazing Spider-Man, even though I saw them. I thought apparently they sucked. I honestly don't remember them one bit. But the original trilogy with Tobey Maguire, they still had like the Green Goblin, Dr. Ock, Sandman, Venom. So they still had.
But the original one still had more of a neighborhood feel than it still felt like he was helping the little guy. Yeah,
I think what I missed really in this movie was that epic chase through the city sequence, right? Like that's the trademark Spider-Man moment where they're just like going through the city.
You know what we got instead? Him flinging the web as far as he can, and it's like, oh shit, and there's run across the field.
That was hilarious. I was like, oh my God.
He's running across the field because there's no trees, no nothing, and it's like, fuck.
This sucks, man.
This sucks. Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, it was good. There's a lot of good moments like that.
Compared to like the other Spider-Mans, even though when they weren't in the city, they could just like do it into the sky and somehow like somewhere something caught onto it and could swing.
Yeah.
Like even, I mean, a bit of a stretch.
It was really good because the film seemed to know like what some of the problems were with Spider-Man and it addressed it in a comedic sense.
Yeah.
But I thought that was great, particularly that scene where he's running across the golf course and the sprinklers turn on as well, and he's just like, damn it. Sorry, we just went off tangent. I don't remember where we were at.
Oh, we're talking about the two aspects, so high school and superhero.
Yeah, and what made it so good. Do you reckon as well that the reason why the high school one was a bit better was because it was more relatable?
Yes,
like people can even understand about.
Yeah.
And, the superhero stuff's good, but you've seen it all before. You know it's going to end okay because it's Spider-Man. And you're not really interested in it or invested in it besides the visual spectacle. Whereas the high school one, I suppose everyone can relate to,
Some part of it.
some part of it, whether it be going to class, things like that, sneaking out during a trip at nighttime. Like, you all know about that sort of stuff, and it really helps ground it. And you can feel sympathetic, right?
Yeah.
For him, and it makes you sort of root for him.
Root
Right?
for him, putting yourself in his shoes, I guess.
The point is that, like, in a lot of movies where there's a superhero, I don't particularly care if they survive or not. Right?
Fair enough, yeah.
I'm just like, well, I know you're going to survive anyway, but I don't actually care about you. Whereas in this one, I still did want him to succeed. I felt like I wanted him to prove that he could be an adventurer.
Yeah.
Right? And like, I knew that all this stuff was going to happen. Like, he was eventually going to, even after he got his suit taken away, like, he's going to go after that guy still. But you still feel like you want it to happen, rather than it just being sort of some inevitable thing where you're just like,
I'm starting to like how these superhero films don't always have to explain the origin of powers.
Yeah, I think because
it feels like a waste of time to do that.
No, I think it's also at this point everyone knows, right?
Yeah.
And Spider-Man got bit by a spider, bang. In fact, they do actually mention that.
Yeah.
When
Ned asks.
Yeah, Ned asks, he's like, "Oh, I got bit by a spider," and that's it. And I think that's a great way because everyone knows who Spider-Man is, everyone knows who Batman is, and if they don't know, that literal one line is enough to tell them.
Yeah.
Because you don't need to have like a whole sequence of them walking through a lab finding this like radioactive spider that bites them or something like that. It's just like, I got bit by a spider, now I got these powers. Cool. What do you think of the in the early scenes where he had his like phone recording?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. I thought that was really well done.
I like how films are starting to experiment with. I mean, using an iPhone is one, but you didn't watch The Villainess. You haven't watched it yet, but I did, and pretty much all of that's about action and how to film the action. And when you think typical martial arts film, and I've watched a lot since I was a kid because I'm Chinese and I got a lot of Chinese kung fu movies. They're all filmed similarly, and they really kind of don't break the mold. This one broke the mold. I mean, I'm talking in sense of martial arts films, but this one broke the mold where it used different shots. It used a chest camera as well. I think you're starting to see that a lot more in films.
Yeah, a lot more
the chest camera. And I think for this, because it's got that comedic feel, using an iPhone to give poor quality, but add some, what would you call that? Like human
aspect to it, right?
Yeah.
Because, the whole point of it, that sequence is to show, how much of an amateur he is to it. And like the Avengers are kind of this dream to him.
Yeah.
So when he's included in it, the fact that he's got it on his iPhone, taking like a selfie, right? When people meet famous people and they want to tell people about how they met this person. That's effectively what he was doing. And they utilized it very effectively because I felt like that should have been the intro rather than what the actual intro was, because it actually set the vibe of the movie.
Yeah.
Right? It set the whole tone of the movie, and it introduced Peter Parker and his personality and his character.
Yeah, in a short sequence of less than probably 5 minutes, they built up all this context. They built his character.
Yeah. What it also did is it established his standing in the hierarchy of superheroes, right? Like, he's this guy that is standing behind where he has so much time he can afford to record something, and he's, getting chauffeured by Happy, right? Like, he's not with Tony Stark and the others, and, all those sorts of things. But I don't really have much more to say about this movie. It's a good movie. Obviously, watch it when you're a bit tired so you can enjoy it a bit more. Like, don't go into this fresh.
It's not like this movie lacks depth. It's more that the depth it has isn't serious and, nuanced to a severe degree. It's quite lighthearted. And so it's easy to, get your head around. And you kind of just don't want to stay on anything too long. And I think the movie does that a good job.
Yeah, the movie's great because it doesn't have any fat.
Yeah.
No scene really overstayed its welcome. And I thought, maybe a couple with Ned where he's
annoying.
Yeah, he was just being annoying. But even those ones I felt weren't that bad.
This is just a situation of we're thinking about it more, so that's why we,
Yeah, 100%. But also, it's like, I feel like even the scenario with Ned, right, it did, to a certain extent, put you in Peter Parker's shoes, right? Because you're sitting there going like, dude, shut up.
Yeah.
Like, don't talk to me about it. And Peter Parker's also going like, dude, shut up, man. Like, shut up. Don't talk to me about this. I'm in school. And then when he's like, Peter knows Spider-Man, you're just like, fucking hell. And he's looking around like, oh, no. So it actually aligned what you were feeling with the character pretty well. But anyway, sorry, Hugo, you keep going with your...
Oh, no, I think it's a good wrap up this film.
Where do you think the next film should go for? We'll leave it there.
I definitely think that we got the small scale of this film. So we know, here's a local hero doing things for the little guy. I feel maybe his next step is for him to grow up, age a few years.
So
maybe
what
grow a
about
beard.
his puberty?
Yeah, go through puberty, lower that voice instead of having that interrogation mode on.
Yeah.
But pretty much grow older and then mature properly, maybe not be so headstrong and maybe calculate a bit more.
Yeah, I want to see, because he's really intelligent, I want to see that intelligence come out in his decisions.
I want to see him use the technology now. Like,
I don't think the technology even necessarily. Like, I want him to
No.
see him, like, trick someone, or because he's so smart.
Yeah.
Like, I want him, not just because I have the suit that makes me better than you, but
Mm.
because I am better than you.
mm,
Right?
Yeah.
That's what I want to start seeing.
Yeah.
Because...
So really bring those capabilities, his own capabilities up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so put this new Spider-Man, this new, mature Spider-Man into a bigger scale. Probably, maybe not apocalypse yet. I don't think he
No,
has.
maybe more like threatening a city or something.
Yeah, threatening a city sounds good.
Yeah. Though he lives in the same city as the Stark ones, I don't know.
Oh, but they went upscale, remember?
Oh, yeah, they went upstate, so he can have the city to himself.
Yeah.
But I think they'd probably have to darken the movie a bit for the next one. I don't think this next one can be as lighthearted.
I reckon, as we get older, they would have to cater for an older audience, which definitely means darken the movie. Or put a more serious tone on it.
Yeah.
Maybe put an edge on the film.
I'd like to see him assemble a team,
Really?
right? Because he's got the Ned dude. I imagine, like, what I would like to see is a time skip, maybe for him to be in the end of high school for the second film, or maybe start of college or something.
Mm-hmm.
Him to, Ned was obviously going to be his computer guy in the next, the guy at the desk or whatever they say. And MJ, Mary Jane, as you astutely pointed out in the thing, which I did not pick up at all, or at least that is what is.
Well, her name wasn't Mary Jane,
but everyone said, but she said MJ.
She said so. Okay, so what Laxman didn't pick up was we had the love interest, and she was irrelevant. She became irrelevant. But then at the same time, we had the side character. I think her name was Michelle, actually.
Yeah.
It started with an M, and she was picking up it.
It seemed like she knew that Peter was Spider-Man.
And even in the end scene, in the very last scene, whether or not she picked up on it, she did still question.
You're like,
what are you hiding?
Yeah.
And it's like, I'm just joking. But she still looked like, I think I know what you're hiding.
Yeah.
And then, I think right before that, she said, oh yeah, my friends call me MJ.
Yeah.
So, for me, that was a trigger. Hey, Mary Jane, MJ, oh, this is definitely going to be the Mary Jane of the next film.
But, I mean, that's cool and all. But I reckon, she would be... I'd like to see him build, like, a support group for the next film and have, like, a team of people that help him out. Not even in the field, just on the side with...
Intel.
Keeping him undercover, right?
Yeah.
So that he doesn't get picked up on or anything like that. And, it would have to go away a lot more from the high school sort of stuff, because I feel like they've already done that. If they do another movie with that, I'd be pretty bored. And, who would be the villain, do you reckon? I'd like to see Venom. Right.
But Venom was supernatural, as in how did he get his powers in the last ones? He was this like symbiote.
Yeah, it's like some sort of parasite creature.
Yeah, I don't know. Who did I like? I don't even remember the Spider-Man villains.
Because I always feel like, I don't know, the second movie should be a darker movie.
Yeah.
Like, just always, period, as a general rule. And it should be like the darkest one. And I feel like Venom represents another aspect of Spider-Man.
Yeah, right.
Or can represent another aspect of Spider-Man, rather than just being a Spider-Man that's got a black suit, right?
Ideology.
Yeah, the ideology can be different and perhaps challenging. This is a bit of irrelevant, but do you remember in Spider-Man 3 with Tobey Maguire when he gets the Venom suit and he does that like dance across the street and he thinks he's like, oh, you don't know this scene? We'll search it up, but
Tobey Maguire Venom dance. Evil dance. Oh, I think I remember this.
20 years.
Is this it?
Yeah. Which...
Hello.
Dr. Parker. Dr. Connors here.
Oh, Dr. Connors. How are you?
Quite a specimen you left me, Parker. Its chemistry is not unlike the chondritic meteorites of the 70s.
This is when he's like
You know what,
thinking he's
Parker?
cool. Because he's got the Venom suit. and
Parker?
Good smell.
It amplifies characteristics of its host,
Yeah.
Hey, give me another cookie.
especially aggression. This could be dangerous. Peter, you didn't keep any, did you?
You got any with nuts?
I have some nuts I could make some.
Go make me some.
Peter?
No, of course not.
Watch, this is the best one.
What is this?
because he thinks he's
The
cool.
shots are so good.
I'd love to show you sometime.
Peter Parker. Peter.
Brent, that's not the position I hired you for.
Black suit Spider-Man. Peter, these are incredible. You gotta have these, Jonah.
I'll pay you the usual rate.
If you want the shots, I'll take the staff job. Double the money.
What is this? Why is this so cringe?
It's meant to be cringe though. That's what's so good about it.
What is this?
It's so good because it's meant to be like that bad. Because it's meant to be him completely oblivious of how he's acting.
Oh my god. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh my god.
But see how good is that scene? Because it's so intentionally. Anyway,
Alright, yeah.
sorry. Let's just wrap this up. That was a bit of a point. This movie's pretty good.
Agreed.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for joining us, guys. No, that's
Yeah.
really all I got left to say.
Yeah, movie's good. Watch it in the cinemas because it'll be a better experience than watching it at home and being distracted all
It
the
keeps
time.
the illusion up a lot better than being at home. Anyway, thanks for joining us. Until the next one. See ya.
So, yeah.